Imagine living in a place where water should not exist, where rain is rare, where rivers are unreliable, where deserts are not at the edge of the country. They are the country. Now imagine that same place exporting water technology to the world. This is not luck. This is not geography. This is design. Israel did not discover water. Israel engineered it. And in doing so, it built something unprecedented, an almost infinite water loop. A system where water is not simply used, but recovered, recycled, purified, and returned again and again. This is not the story of pipes and pumps. This is the story of how a nation decided that running out of water was not an acceptable future. Part 1. A land that shouldn't support life. Israel sits in one of the driest regions on Earth. More than half of the country is desert. Rainfall is unpredictable. Natural freshwater sources are limited and fragile. For thousands of years, water here meant survival. Ancient civilizations rose and fell based on access to wells and springs. In modern times, the challenge only grew worse. Population increased. Agriculture expanded. Cities grew faster than rainfall ever could. By the mid-20th century, the math was simple. Demand was rising, supply was not. For most nations, this would have meant rationing, dependence, and decline. For Israel, it meant something else. A decision. Water would not be treated as a natural resource. It would be treated as infrastructure. Part 2. The realization that changed everything. Early Israeli planners understood something critical. You cannot control rain. You cannot create rivers. But you can control systems. Instead of asking, "Where will we find more water?" they asked a more dangerous question. What if water never truly leaves the system? This was a radical idea. At the time, water was seen as a one-way journey: extracted, used, discarded. Wastewater was a problem to be hidden. Israel saw it differently. Wastewater wasn't waste. It was unfinished water. Part 3. Turning sewage into supply. Israel became the first country on Earth to treat wastewater as a national resource. Not for emergencies, not as a backup, but as a primary pillar of supply. Today, nearly 90% of Israel's wastewater is recycled. No other country comes close. This water is treated, purified, and reused, mainly for agriculture. That single decision changed everything. Fresh water was no longer wasted on crops. Drinking water was preserved for cities. Every drop was counted twice. Water began moving in loops instead of lines. But even this wasn't enough, because recycling only works if there is water to recycle in the first place. And nature was still unreliable. So Israel went further, much further. Part 4. Drinking the sea. Israel sits beside one of the largest bodies of water on Earth. For centuries, the Mediterranean was useless for survival. Salt water cannot be drunk, cannot irrigate crops, cannot sustain cities. Unless you change the rules. Israel invested heavily in desalination, the process of removing salt from seawater. Not as an experiment, as national policy. Massive desalination plants were built along the coast. They didn't trickle water. They flooded the system. Today, desalination provides the majority of Israel's drinking water. The sea became a tap. And suddenly, rainfall no longer dictated survival. But desalination alone creates another problem. It produces water, but also energy demand, waste brine, and cost. To work, it had to be integrated carefully into a loop. Part 5. The loop takes shape. Here is where Israel's system becomes unique. Desalinated water flows into cities. Cities use the water. Wastewater flows into treatment plants. Treated water flows to agriculture. Agriculture uses the water. Excess returns to groundwater. Nothing is wasted. Nothing disappears. Water is borrowed, not consumed. This closed-loop thinking turned scarcity into stability, and stability into resilience. Droughts stopped being disasters. They became variables. Part 6. Technology is only half the story. But pipes and plants alone don't create an infinite loop. Human behavior matters. Israel implemented nationwide water pricing, monitoring, and incentives. Leaks are detected rapidly. Usage is measured precisely. Efficiency is rewarded. Farmers use advanced drip irrigation, another Israeli innovation. Instead of flooding fields, water is delivered drop by drop, directly to plant roots. Less evaporation, less waste, more yield. Agriculture uses less water and produces more food. That is not an accident. That is engineering meeting policy. Part 7. Water as national security. In many parts of the world, water scarcity leads to conflict. In Israel, it led to control. Not control over others, control over vulnerability. Water independence became strategic. No reliance on upstream neighbors. No hostage to climate patterns. No collapse during drought. Water became predictable, and predictability is power. This system didn't just support cities. It supported peace, stability, and growth. Part 8. Why other countries haven't done this? The obvious question is inevitable. If Israel can do this, why doesn't everyone? The answer is uncomfortable. This system required massive upfront investment, centralized planning, long-term thinking, political consistency, public cooperation. Most countries struggle with short election cycles, short-term budgets, fragmented authority. Israel treated water like electricity or defense, something too important to leave to chance. That mindset is rare. Part 9. The illusion of infinite. Is Israel's water truly infinite? No. But it is functionally endless as long as energy flows and systems are maintained. This is the key lesson. Infinity is not about abundance. It is about design. Israel didn't escape nature. It negotiated with it. Part 10. The future of water. Climate change is making water scarcity global. Regions that once felt secure are now vulnerable. Israel's system is no longer unique. It is a preview. Cities from California to Australia are studying the same model. Not copying it blindly, but learning from its logic. Reuse before extraction. Control before crisis. Systems before miracles. Final conclusion. The real reason Israel never ran out. Israel did not build an infinite water loop because it had excess resources. It built it because it had none. Scarcity forced clarity. Water stopped being emotional, stopped being political, stopped being accidental. It became intentional. This system is not perfect. It is expensive, energy-intensive, constantly maintained. But it works. And that may be the most important lesson of all. The future of water will not be found in rain. It will be found in engineering choices. And somewhere in a dry corner of the Middle East, a nation proved that running out of water is not inevitable.